Howdy y'all, it's Chris with Show Up Fitness, favorite trainer of the belt buckle. Today we're going to be reviewing the rotator cuff muscle of the subscapularis, the last S on sits. Before we do that, make sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube. If you want to become a trainer, check out our website, showupfitness.com, for Los Angeles and San Diego internships that are starting soon. Every other month, we have new classes, creating the best trainers out there. Where great trainers are made. So let's talk about the rotator cuff subscapularis muscle. Let me bring Skelly over here. We have the origin, which is the subscapular fossa. So in the anatomical position on the back side, we have the infraspinatus fossa, which is where the infraspinatus goes. Underneath, on the posterior side, you're going to find the subscapular fossa. And so it originates on the back part of the scapula, and then it comes through and inserts on the lesser tubercle of the humerus. Remember, the shoulder joint, we have the clavicle, the longer upper body bone, which is the humerus, and then the shoulder blade, which is the scapula. They articulate to make the shoulder joint. So on the back side, so if you were to go through my chest, you would find the subscapular fossa. It comes through to the lesser tubercle of the humerus. The larger one is the greater. And then you have a cool little groove, and that groove is where the bicep tendon goes through. And it's going to go onto the scapula. So you have the bicipital groove, greater tubercle, lesser tubercle, and that is where the subscapularis inserts. The action of the subscapularis. Now, I'm a weirdo. I help students remember it like this. Think about when you're a younger kid in the bath, and you have two submarines, and you crush them together, right? My humerus is adducting, and it's internally rotating when you smash them together. Sub means underneath. So going underwater, a sub goes underwater. Subscapularis is going to internally rotate, which is coming across in the transverse plane of motion. In the frontal plane of motion, it adducts. Remember the purpose of the rotator cuff muscles. They stabilize the gleno-humeral joint. You got a lot of range of motion here in the sagittal, the frontal, and the transverse plane. So if it was just freely movable, because it's freely movable, we don't have a ton of stability. So that range of motion is great, but now we potentially are compromising stability. So those four muscles just keep it nice and tight. Centration, so let's pretend like this cup of coffee. We got the head of the humerus into the scapula, the glenoid fossa. It fits on there. Some people will give an analogy of a golf ball on a tee. The head of the humerus is a lot larger than that fossa, so it just sits perfectly like that. And then we have a muscle that comes underneath on the posterior side. So you have your teres minor, and you have your infraspinatus, which is below the supraspinatus, and then you have the subscap. So it'd be like teres minor, infra, supra, and then under here you have the subscapularis, and they just keep the ball nice and tight. Nice and stable would be a better word. So then it's centrated. Now what happens with a lot of exercises is we see an anterior gleno-humeral glide. So we do a row, and then it falls forward. Or we do a push-up, and we get that coming forward. I was working with a client yesterday, and she said that her shoulder hurts. She's really, really guarded from that. I can just tell when I told her to get in a push-up position, she was really scared. But then when I taught her the proper mechanics of a push-up, this isn't how you do a push-up. I like the example to give people, if you were to push me over, what would you do? You wouldn't go like that, but that's how a lot of people do push-ups. You push here. So when we centrated her, we got her into that position. It's an open, when we look at the proper kinetics, it's a closed kinetic chain exercise. My hands are locked down to the ground, so my core, my glutes are engaged. So when she tucked her elbows in and she brought it closer to her body, we centrated the humerus. And so movement was a lot better. The brain put its guard down. Pain's a beautiful thing. It's telling you something's jacked up. Don't ignore it. Work through pain. No pain, no gain is a beautiful saying if you're talking about the burn. Not if you have some type of weird issue going on when you're doing a push-up. You have to stop immediately and address proper form. So it just blows my mind how many people will do push-ups and exercises like that, and you're potentially jacking up that joint. So the subscapularis is a muscle of the rotator cuff, and one of my favorite exercises to activate it. I don't like the internal, external ones that therapists had you do like in the 80s and 90s. You still see people, they'll grab weights and they'll go like this, and it's just not optimal in my opinion. What I would prefer is to get a band shoulder width that's a little high, and you pull it in isometrically, so you have adduction, and then you have internal rotation, and you're going back and forth. So you're flexing and you're flexing and extending, but you have constant tension on adduction, also internal rotation. So you're really firing up that subscapularis muscle. So you're just going to do 5-10 reps, switch. Just to review, subscapularis, the last S of the sits rotator cuff, originates in the subscapular fossa, inserts on the lesser tubercle of the humerus. Actions are internal rotation, adduction. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube. Have a great day.